This is Tenten's I am quitting Genshin Impact video. Let's go.
So, just like the title of this video implied, this is gonna be the end of Genshin Impact for me. This is not a clickbait, I'm being serious. As a non-full-time content creator, the first thing that I promise myself is that when it's not fun, I'm just not gonna do it. It's my hobby.
Yeah, that's the most important part. He's not a full-time content creator. He has an actual job in real life. So when he wants to quit, he can just quit. I don't know if it's primarily for entertainment, but since he's told himself that if he doesn't enjoy it anymore, then he's not going to do it, then I'm going to assume that yes, his most important goal is to be entertained.
It's not a job. And unfortunately, the time has come. It was always going to come one day. It's a matter of when. And after 2 years, I think that time has come. I think 2 years is a good
If you play a game for 2 years every single day, you're going to get bored of it. Even, I'm going to say this right now. If I had done the same thing, I would have also gone super bored with the game, but I haven't. There was a 3 month long hiatus where I basically just did the dailies every single day, and then I did the spiral bits, but otherwise I didn't do anything else with the game. I think a lot of people actually play the game exactly the same way as I do at that point, or at least when I did. But that's how I didn't get bored with the game, because I didn't actually play the game outside of those areas. I think for him at this point, it's just too little content. Because that's the part, the way I play the game is essentially how he wants to play the game. Because Tenten is someone who is only interested in the combat side of things. So it makes perfect sense that since we already know there's not going to be any endgame content and that, the newest element is already out, me personally, I also think there is less things to be obviously excited about with Fontaine. Yes, there might be like a swimming mechanic, but that is still exploration, and that is probably not what hardcore combat-oriented players are looking for.
of time to give it a try. And I appreciate the past 2 years of everybody just supporting the channel or just being here in general watching the video. And in this video, I want to talk about some life update for myself and why I'm leaving Genshin Impact, and most importantly, what is going to be the future direction of this channel. Let's start with the biggest one, life update. 2 to 3 months ago, I kind of made this tweet about how I've been touching a lot more grass nowadays. That is completely real. It's not a bait. I'm being completely serious, and it's one of the biggest reasons why I'm just leaving Genshin Impact behind. Thanks to Genshin Impact, actually, I have touched way more grass ever since then. Mostly just
Okay, when he says he touched grass, what he means is that he went out with friends and did like real things in real life. When I was in Taiwan, I touched like actual grass, like weed grass, like grass in my backyard, and it fucking sucked. And after I did the touching grass shit, I came back and I wanted to play more video games because I fucking hate grass.
just because I get the wonderful opportunity of traveling to all kind of convention, meeting a bunch of cool people, other content creators that are also really cool, and most importantly, made some friends along the way, friends that are really important to me. And since the beginning of making content, I've always prioritized my friend over making content. It was a promise I've made to myself. And as I get more friends, and some of these again are especially important to me, I just find myself having a lot less time to make content nowadays, because while A, making content isn't my full-time job, and B, like, if I have the time after my actual job, I always choose to prioritize hanging out with my friends and taking care of them over anything else. Properly allocating your time has always been one of the biggest challenge for any kind of non-full-time content creator there, because they gotta balance working their actual full-time job and then making content and stuff, which might take 4 to 5 hours of their day, which means they can't really do anything else. That was one of the biggest challenge when I streamed it consistently, is that I would always get behind on doing like chores and laundry and stuff, just because of the time commitment when it comes down to making video and streaming. I think one of the biggest mistake that anybody can make, not just streamer, is that they don't give enough time for themselves to enjoy life. You are always going to be the most important person in your life, so you should always make sure to have enough time for yourself. And that's kind of what I have been doing. After I stopped streaming, I found myself just having a lot more enjoyment while playing video game, playing the games that I always wanted to play but just didn't have time because I was focusing on content creating.
Yeah, it's like even when you're not doing content creation, even when you're just playing the game and streaming it, sometimes I feel like there is pressure to do things faster. Playing the game while you're streaming is not the same thing as when you're just playing it by yourself. I know that there are even streamers who can't play games by themselves anymore because they don't enjoy it in the same way. Like they've gotten so like streamer brained that they can only enjoy games if they stream the game.
I was able to beat Elden Ring, including beating the hardest boss in the game, Millennium. I beat
I don't
Sekiro
think he
just now,
streams
beating
on
Ishii, the Sword
YouTube.
Scene. Always really like action RPG game, as you can tell. I started to play Nier Replica in my room, just chilling off stream, and I really like the vibe of just playing it by myself in my room, because then it really gives me the vibe of focusing on the story and the most important part of the game.
I feel really weirded out by these statements or comments about how they just enjoy playing games by themselves for once, because that's what I do even after streaming. Like, what do you think I do after I stream? It's mostly just it's like, okay, so besides like doing actual like real life stuff, I just like sleep and then I play video games for myself anyways, which is why I'm streaming in the first place. Because if I wasn't streaming, I would just be playing Honkai Star Rail anyways. So for me, that's not really a problem. I'm a no lifer.
And other times, maybe I want to share these memories, experience with my friends, which is when I play video games with my friend, again, for fun, not for content creating purpose. Again, these are the people who I cherish the most, people that are really important in my life that I will always prioritize over making any kind of content. And I always have fun just, being around with them,
Right.
allocating my time there instead of trying to make content, which honestly nowadays is less fun because Genshin Impact just
It's
kinda
not
sucks,
even
which I'll
less
talk
fun,
about
it's just
slowly.
harder.
But yeah,
Like,
so
what
that is the
content are you
biggest reason
supposed to
why I'm
make?
moving on. Just I got busy in life, over touching grass. And honestly, I'm a touch grass enjoyer now. So it was great playing video games, but honestly nowadays I don't even play video game that much. I'm serious. I'm not even joking. Okay, now that the boring stuff is off the way, let's talk about the juicy stuff. What you actually came for.
He
That
hates
is,
Genshin.
Genshin Impact just fucking sucks.
Ah.
Time Genshin Impact just became really boring. It is really obvious that MiHoYo don't give a shit about the actual player that want to play for the action combat, but only care about the casual player. We all know that. We just cope.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said when the interview stuff came out, that the meta players would be the first ones to quit, because especially the content creators, because not only does that interview devalue their work, but it's also like destroyed any hope that they have left of just continue to play this game. I guess the modern work problems now is the divide between work-life schedule, especially when your work is just the same thing as your gaming life, right? Gaming is supposed to be originally it was supposed to be for entertainment, but then you turn it into your work and then it's no longer fun anymore and you have to keep doing that work if you want to make money. So he's actually in a very good spot because he can just quit without having to worry about, not having stuff to eat because he's going into poverty. So I don't know how to feel about this right now because on one hand, I do agree that Genshin Impact is in a lull, that it does not have the same degree of appeal as it once did. But at the same time, I had already accepted that this was what Genshin was a long time ago. So it's not really coming as, a shock to me that either the interview was not a shock to me. I was shocked that they said it, not about the content that they said. I was surprised that the interview happened in the first place and they were so obvious and blatant about it. And that's why I think I was able to enjoy Genshin Impact all the way until now, because my expectations for the game were not low, but appropriate to what Genshin Impact was intended to be for HoYoverse in the first place.
Is they're gonna make actual content for us? Never gonna happen. Genshin Impact over time just is not.
MTash can learn a thing or two from this guy when it comes to work, but they're not in the same place. MTash's main job is content creation. This guy's main job is not content creation. They are not in the same place. And I am not in the same place. I can't really understand them fully from I can only understand their experiences from like a theoretical standpoint, not from an experiential standpoint, because the way I play this game is not the same as them. I am not in the same financial situation as them, and I don't play the game for the same reasons as them. So it's like there's not a lot to relate to here.
Fun anymore. Like making content for Genshin isn't fun, but playing the game is even less fun. So I just don't want to do it because, well, again, content creating is my hobby, and when it become not fun anymore, I was gonna stop. That's what I always promised myself. I have basically never touched the game since like a month ago, and nowadays I just find myself enjoying the day much more without having to care a single aspect about Genshin Impact. As you can tell earlier in the earlier section, I'm always a big fan of action RPG, like playing Elden Ring, playing Sekiro, and stuff. And the original reason why I started playing Genshin Impact is mostly because I thought it was a really cool anime MMORPG that I could play with my friends, which turned out to be not the case, and it's just a simple gacha game, which to be honest was fine. I was familiar with gacha game. I played a lot of FGO back then, and Genshin Impact does have really cool character design and stuff like that. The character is kind of cool. And
Sometimes I wonder if I enjoy the game more because I didn't come from a very long gacha game background. Like, this is something I've noticed over my time playing Genshin, is that when I look at comments by people who have much more history with gacha games than I do, like the kind of things they talk about, like the reward system, how much rewards they're getting, or whether or not Genshin Impact or HoYoverse are generous, is not really like my primary concern. My primary concern is more like, what kind of content are we getting? What kind of like storytelling What is the storytelling quality? Um, are the environmental aspects of the game up to notch? Like that usual type of thing that Hoyoverse has already done well, and what I hope for them to keep doing well. Maybe I've just molded my playstyle or my expectations to become so in line with what Genshin Impact offers that, the reward system and, the gacha side of things just doesn't really even register in my mind anymore.
And most importantly, like the combat was really fun. Figuring out the elemental reaction system, figuring out how Xiangling kind of snapshot with men and buff, figuring out national team, freeze team, tasers team, all kind of team, hyper bloom team was really fun. At the time at least. But honestly, over time, Genshin Impact just lost the magic. It lost the charm. Every single patch, it just dead patch. It's just dead patch after dead patch after dead patch with absolutely nothing to do other than maybe some fetch quests, maybe some really boring mini game that have nothing to do with actually playing the game.
I mean, to him, playing the game is the combat. But I will say this, given my experience with the community and the people who watch my content, the vast majority of them are probably a very, very small part of the player base. Like, I've noticed that at a certain point, when I was making the video about the skin color in Sumeru and Genshin Impact, as well as the video about the Chinese opera, my audience was maybe like split between 48% female and 52% male. And the more I just talked about like the combat side of things, the more male oriented my audience base became. And this is a very small sample size because I'm a very small channel. But the most popular recent video I did was about how Hoyoverse is making the Spiral Abyss less free to play now. And 100% of the viewer base is male. So if you believe that maybe like 30 to 40% of the Genshin Impact player base is female, and none of them viewed that clip, and only a very small portion of the male player base viewed that clip, then that just gives you an idea of how small the player base actually cares about combat. Again, a very small sample size, but that's just my extrapolation from the kind of people who view my clips and videos.
And I get that what the other people enjoy, that's what the target audience enjoy, but that's not what I actually enjoy. So ultimately, Genshin Impact just lost the charm for me. Even exploration has become really boring. I remember when I first started playing Genshin Impact, I was really excited to go around Mondstadt and Liu to like clear all the puzzle and stuff. And even Dragon's Mind, the first expansion, was really cool. But over time, Genshin Impact has dumped it down, it puzzled down so much. Genshin Impact exploration nowadays feel more like a chore to get resources rather than actual cool exploration. And playing the new game of Zelda,
I'm not sure if it's true because I took like a 3-month long hiatus from exploration and I came back and I streamed the first time I did new exploration in the new zones and I was so fucking confused. Like they literally introduced like maybe 6 or 7 mechanics in my face in the first 40 minutes of the game. Like I was so like they literally made us transform into another little sprite thingy that I had to go and collect shit with, and then we could use the little sprite to collect the grappling hook points and put them somewhere else, which as far as I know is a new mechanic that was never in Genshin Impact. So I don't agree entirely that they are not introducing new interesting mechanics. I think it's just that they are introducing these mechanics in such a slow pace that yes, the majority of the puzzles in this game do not feel that innovative or different from each other after a certain point once you've done them long enough. The new area where you go to that giant tree that's kind of hollowed out, and then you can use Sarouche and then transform into that little like pixie sprite, and then you can float around and use them to bomb shit. Have we ever had that mechanic in this game? I don't think we've had that same thing. So that is definitely new. It's not like revolutionary, but I do think it was interesting enough that I was paying attention to the exploration part more so than I did in the past. Of course, they also have the same thing where you just float around as that pixie sprite and collect the same things as you did when you were in like your main character form. So there is definitely a lot of carryover from the previous exploration mechanics, but they do introduce new ones. Probably not as much as I would like, but they are there.
the kingdoms make me realize that really badly.
Nothing will ever match up to the fucking Sudoku puzzle though. That shit was actually mental. I don't know who put that there, but that was put there solely to fuck with you.
Because in Zelda, every single shrine, the puzzles are unique. They might not be complicated and they might recycle similar mechanics, but each one of them is different and unique from the other. Where in Genshin Impact, all the puzzle in Sumeru, it just put this thing into the square hole, put that thing into the square hole. It just always put this thing into the square hole. It's not even.
I actually went back and played Breath of the Wild recently, and I'm not sure I would agree. Like, I really do not think that much of the Zelda Breath of the Wild dungeons. Maybe I just haven't gone too much into it. I've done like maybe like 8, 9, 10 of them already. And yes, they do have more physics puzzles. Not maybe like 9, 10, like 16 of them already, but it's not that complicated. Like, I would say maybe the Breath of the Wild dungeons are maybe like, if they were an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, then the Genshin ones would be like a 6 or 7.
Even a puzzle anymore. It's just a chore to put the thing in the square hole, something that take up your time to fill the gap, and it's just not really fun. Every single new enemy, it's just stalling enemy. It's not like, oh, I have to learn the enemy pattern like how Sekiro and Elden Ring is to dodge it. Every single enemy, it just, well, this enemy is gonna fly around in the sky for 5 years. So
I don't agree with this consecrated beast. Like, there are actually mechanics with the consecrated beast. Like that time when they do the splash attack, both the crocodile as well as actually they all do. They all do the same they don't do the exact same splash attacks. Like, for example, the Feigned Consecrated Beast, if you don't destroy their animalculus or whatever it is that they put down when they do their special attack, if you don't destroy that and you're near it when it goes back into their body, it doesn't go back into the consecrated beast body. It actually latches onto you and does damage over time. So that is a unique mechanic that you have to pay attention to. And they also have a delayed splash attack. So when the consecrated beasts do their splash attack, they will do another splash attack after that. And you do need to worry about that if you haven't like wailed yourself to death, or you haven't like min-max yourself to the point where you don't need to pay attention to those kind of mechanics. Then yes, that is true. But they have introduced more challenging mechanics with the recent Spiral Abyss.
it's cool because it fly for 5 years instead of being underground for 5 years. Same fucking shit. Every single new characters, honestly, is kind of the same. They're all like mid-tier character with similar playstyles. Like, to be honest, even back in the days, every character was kind of different. Like, even if they're bad, like figuring out that they were bad was kind of interesting. And it was even more interesting to try to convince people that, hey, Eula fucking sucks because she has a backloaded problem. People wouldn't believe what a backloaded problem is, but it was still fun. So there was like some fun there even when the bad character came out. But nowadays, every single character just have the same play styles. And one day I woke up and I'm just like, you know what? I actually don't give a shit about Baizu at all. He was a new...
I will say that Baiju's abilities are probably the most boring out of the new characters that we've seen in Sumeru so far. He's not technically in Sumeru, but in the 3.0 patches, Baiju's techniques and skills, from the perspective of someone who's like been waiting for him since probably the start of the game, his abilities are probably the most boring out of all of them. But I don't agree, like, especially for the Archon, you literally use a fucking camera and then like snapshot people. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Dia's abilities are also kind of interesting, but they're kind of shit, so I guess it doesn't matter. Nilou's abilities are like... Nilou is probably one of the most interesting characters from a design perspective. I don't find her fun to play, but she is interesting. Like, I want to know why they designed her like that rather than play as her. Let's just say that. So I do resonate with this in that it's not as fun to talk about characters anymore because there are so many characters now that they can all fill each other's places. To like an 80% degree, like Baiju, do you really need to use him, or can you just use John Lee? You won't get elemental reactions that way, but you know, if you're just looking for defense, then you might as well just use another better defensive character. If you're looking for healing, you could just use Kokomi. If you're looking for elemental reactions, you can just use the Dendro Archon, that sort of stuff. So they all sort of fill each other's roles to the degree of maybe like 70-80%. And it does get to the point where it's starting to feel a bit samey.
5-star characters, he's a Dendro healer. And without looking at what he does, and then look at leaks or anything, I just actually completely didn't give a shit. His playstyles, we can probably predict. Being a Dendro healer, what is it? Either he become a Dendro healer in like maybe aggravating with Kaching or Sino. Maybe not Sino because Sino has long field time problem unless Baizu have really good off-field Dendro application, which would make him really, really strong, which probably is not the case because that would be too broken. or he just put in the Hyper Bloom team because he has good enough danger application, and Hyper Bloom team could use the healer, but Yaya already exists, so it's not really that necessary either. So he just become kind of like an okay character, cool character if you want to roll. I don't know what the character is. I don't know what Basil actually does. If I'm completely wrong, let me know in the comment. Maybe I was wrong, but if I'm right, also let me know in the comment. But just kind of prove to you that every single Genshin Impact characters is kind of boring nowadays, and it's not exciting to get new characters anymore. And I get why MiHoYo does it. MiHoYo don't sell characters based on character kit and stuff like that. MiHoYo make characters based on aesthetics, based on story, based on lore. New characters just
Yeah, it's important he recognizes this. Like, if we're being honest, the things that sell these characters is, you know, how sexy they are, and you know, their stories. All of the things he said, aesthetics, probably how much skin they reveal. To be honest, that too. But the gameplay of this kid is probably at the very end of the list when it comes to making new characters and making them sellable. The exception to that might be the Archon, because they've marketed the Archon to the point where it's become very obvious that every time you go to a new region, you should wait for the Archon to come out if you want the best and most optimized character for clearing Spiral Abyss. I think that is true to an extent, given how much we know about the sales figures, that the Archons are always the most popular. The Archons, though, are always some of the best well-designed aesthetically as well, so maybe that's not such a good barometer to judge whether or not people actually care about the meta.
isn't that exciting anymore. And overall exploration in Genshin is also not that exciting anymore. So just mean the game isn't really that exciting. That's really it. Honestly, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I played this game for 2 years, not every single day, but I played this game since launch.
Yep.
On and off for 2 years. And 2 years is honestly a pretty good amount of time to give for a game.
It's not even 2 years, it's 3 years
basically
now.
my money out of it. I got my enjoyment out of it. I've been playing this game for 2 years, making content for this game for 2 years.
It's almost
it
3
was
years.
fun, but it is time to move on. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like playing a game for 2 years and you're just kind of tired of it after 2 years and you want something new. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable take, and that's kind of where I am at right now. And again, since this is not my full-time job, just for fun, just a hobby, I'll just move on to something that I actually find more fun instead. So what is that? What is the next step for the channel? Or am I just completely quitting YouTube or streaming in general on Twitch? By the way, twitch.tv/ I'm Tenten. I'm kind of rebranding and changing my name and stuff like that because of this occasion. I'm not really quitting content creating. Content creating is still really fun. It is like a mean for me to make something which has always been fun. It's like a dive into learning how to make something cool or just creating something cool for people to see, both streaming side and making videos. Recently, if you have been tuning on my Twitch, I've just been playing mostly Punishing Great Raven, but honestly, I just play kind of variety nowadays. Finished Elden Ring on stream, finished Sekiro on stream. So feel free to check out what I'm doing. I'm probably just doing random stuff, but if you also have certain things you want me to do, then I'm interested in checking them out as well, since again I don't have the attachment of Genshin Impact anymore. So stay tuned to the Twitch channel. But in terms of next step for this YouTube channel, what I'm gonna do is mostly gonna be Blue Protocol JP server, which will be coming out on the June 14th server. Like I mentioned before, MMORPG has always been the genre that I actually like. Action RPG, anime MMORPG. Blue Protocol was a thing I really...
Yeah, that's another crazy thing about Genshin Impact that we don't often talk about. It's like, just because of how popular it was, it pulled in so many of these different people who don't really actually like gacha games or even JRPGs or anime style games like MTash and Tenten, whose primary interests were not gacha games or anime style games. They like MMOs, they like grinding, they like FPS games, they like Destiny 2, they like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14. But just by virtue of how popular Genshin Impact was, they all got dragged into it and became part of, well, the content creator side of things. And now that they've realized, well, holy shit, Genshin Impact is only like a gacha game, but it's a gacha game that doesn't value power creep, it doesn't value hardcore grinding, it doesn't value like theory crafting, it doesn't value the meta. What it values is like this casual free-to-play like JRPG RPG storytelling as gameplay with some exploration streamed in. Then what exactly are they supposed to do? This is extremely obvious that this would be the end result.
was looking forward to back in the days, even before Genshin come out. And with this official release, going into the JP server on June 14. I'm super excited, and I'll definitely be streaming that.
Yeah, what Lancer says is pretty not like completely correct, because I do think that previous gacha games did have a bigger emphasis on power creep as well like PvP. I think Summoner's War was pretty PvP heavy. Epic 7 is also very very PvP heavy, to the point where I believe it's like almost the entire game. These games do have characters that are sexy and like very attractive, but a large part of those games were the PvP and the power progression, and that kind of replaced what Genshin Impact is trying to do with exploration. That was the main source of the game, not exploration or story. Like, I played Epic 7 for maybe 8-9 hours. The story was okay, but it just seemed like a very generic anime story. It doesn't feel the same as Genshin Impact. Like, Genshin Impact's story is nothing too spectacular either when it comes to the storytelling, but it does feel like a world that you can invest yourself into very much, to the extent where it becomes an immersive experience. And I don't get that same feeling from other gacha games. FGO might be an exception that I would be willing to like make room for, but it's just too old. Like, when I try to run FGO on my phone, it feels like it's going to crash at any time. There was even one time when it was loading so slowly that I thought that the black screen was actually just, the loading screen, and instead I realized that that was my phone falling asleep. So maybe they just need to make FGO 2 now.
On my Twitch, as well as making video probably here, depending on what content I end up getting. I'm super excited to play a JP server to kind of tune in and like hone in on my Japanese skills. If you guys didn't know, I was born in Hong Kong, and I played it MMORPG in Chinese for like the first 15 years of my life, and I learned it like Chinese really well, and it was really always fun to explore the Chinese culture and how like Chinese have unique languages when it comes down to playing video games and stuff like that. And then when I moved it to America, I actually learned it English completely by playing video games. My motivation to learn English at the time, after I moved it over to North America, was actually because so that I can communicate with the people in my games. I have to flame them, I have to tell them like they sucks, I have to tell them like come help my lane or something like that. So that's how I learned it English, and I guess it kind of did work out. So moving on, I'm really excited to play the Blue Protocol JP server, mostly to culturally exchange with Japanese people, which I'm super excited. You guys might know that I have been taking Japanese in my university for a long time. When I went to Japan, I was honestly able to surprise me as well, but like conversationally talk to people. So I'll be going to Japan again this year, but I also want to take the opportunity playing Blue Protocol to further take my Japanese skill one level high, which would be really, really cool. So that was fun. Other than that, you guys might have been noticing I've been making Wedding Wave content and potentially Punishing Great Event content, which is a new gacha game that I'm super excited for now that I'm leaving Genshin Impact. Wedding Wave, obviously, is kind of like Genshin Impact, but with a lot bigger emphasis on the actual combat instead, the action RPG aspect of the game. And Punishing Great Event is the previous title that is purely focused on the combat or the action RPG of the game. So those are the two games that I'm playing as well. I might make content here and there. The problem is that Wedding Wave is so far away from release that it's not actually possible for me to make content right now, so that kind of sucks.
I didn't know that. I thought Wuthering Waves was really close to release. So I thought Wuthering Waves was actually going to come out pretty soon, because they looked like they were putting out some pretty substantial trailers. We got to see some of the combat. People have been in the closed beta test. And didn't Genshin Impact come out very soon? Quite soon after they started their beta test, right? There were only like 2 beta tests, and then it just came out a few weeks afterwards. So that was always my impression going in for these games. It just emphasizes like the strength of Genshin Impact when it comes to management and schedules. I've never played another game that has the same schedule, the ability to pump out so much content, even if it's content that people don't want. It's like they keep to the 6-week schedule so closely that people don't really have much time to, I don't know, not think about quitting, but it's much more likely that people stay invested in the game over a prolonged period of time compared to other games.
But I'll definitely check out the game whenever it does get released, so stay tuned for that as well.
I'm not too excited about
it's
Blue
really
Archive either.
To make
Or
content for
what is
those
it called?
games, since it will be a fresh
Blue Protocol,
new
not
start,
Blue Protocol.
But I'm gonna be
Blue
able to
Archive.
take the learning over the past 2 years of making Genshin Impact video, hopefully to these new games as well. So this will be a really exciting chapter to see how much I can learn again and potentially carry over my previous video making skills to these new games. That'd be really exciting. And it's also interesting to see people be like, hey, this guy played Genshin Impact, he doesn't know shit and he's gonna shit talk the game. I mean, the reason why I shit talk the game, one, is because I'm always a more critical person, in my opinion. Like, I always say, like, you can always improve. But the real reason why I'm so critical of these games is because I want them to be better than Genshin Impact. Because I do really want to play these games and I want to leave Genshin Impact. So that is the real reason why I'm critical of these games. Not because I hate the game and I'd rather play Genshin Impact. It is actually the complete opposite. And it's funny because the people who have been following this channel always know. But it's interesting to see the new people coming in and that's what their reaction is. So it'll be fun trying to accommodate new people as well. And that'll be kind of cool and exciting. But yeah, that's basically where I'm gonna be going. It's not negative at all. I think it's pretty positive. Again, I got my 2 years of fun over making content and Genshin Impact. I think that was good enough. I think, again, that's pretty fair. After 2 years, you just kind of get tired of the same thing and you want to move on. Every single streamer does it. Every single streamer eventually move on. Among Us was a boom for like 2 years, but every single person moved on because you can't play Among Us for 2 years. So
Oh shit, Genshin's
it's
dead.
happened to everybody. There's always gonna be a last
It's
day
over.
where someone just stopped uploading videos, someone stopped streaming. PewDiePie basically stopped making video game content. I don't know, most of the Genshin streamers don't even make Genshin streamer or don't even stream Genshin nowadays, and
True.
everybody just playing Honkai Star Rail because no one want to actually play Genshin Impact. And I know that for a fact, chatting with a couple
Oh,
people
not
like
me.
that,
I still
can't
want to
really
play
say too
Genshin
much,
Impact.
especially stuff behind the scene, for courtesy of and respect for all my content creator friends. Behind the scene is kind of a mess with me, Hoyo. I'll tell you that right now. I can't say too much.
So this is the part that I was watching on the Jeff stream that I was a bit confused about, because it seems like they were hinting at the fact that there is some like organization issues, some kind of issues that they've had with MiHoYo. And I don't know whether or not that's the case, but it wouldn't surprise me. But I will never know this because I don't intend to ever take sponsorships from any games that I actually play, because I don't want people to suspect that I'm saying things that I don't mean. So it's kind of irrelevant to me, but it's interesting to see that there might be some behind the scenes issues going on with the relationship between content creators and MiHoYo. I know that MTash was blacklisted, and that he's like said there might be a case of botting where MiHoYo is actually paying for people to like paying for bots to watch Genshin Impact streams, because he lost a significant amount of viewers. I think it was like 3,000 viewers immediately after he was blacklisted from MiHoYo, and that's why he suspects that MiHoYo bossed them. I don't know if that's true, but you know, it might be.
But yeah, it was fun, and it's time to start a new chapter for me. And that's all really. It's all positive things. And again, I appreciate the long-term support for this channel. And if you guys want to stick with me and check out what I'm going to be doing, maybe check out some of these new games with me, feel free to stay around. Let me know in the comment below. Maybe I will see you guys as well. And thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And this might be a final goodbye for some of you. So
Fuck.
thanks for watching. As
I
always.
love his videos.
I don't know. The same thing as usual. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys hopefully soon. Okay. Bye.
Bye. So what do you guys think about this video? Tenten is going to be a disappointment in the future. It's going to be a rude awakening. I don't think it will be, because he doesn't depend on this for his living, his livelihood. So why would he be disappointed? He's playing games he wants to play. He's doing things in real life. He's having fun. Why would he be in for a rude awakening? I don't know. So over like it's never even begun. Okay. Nothing wrong with diversifying people's stream content. Yeah. There's nothing bad about this. I agree with like 80% of what he says. It's just that I hear people criticizing Genshin Impact. I hear people saying like the same things I say, and then my reaction to that is like, yeah, but I'm gonna keep playing Genshin. I like this game. You think the video kind of sucks? Calling oneself plus a touch grass enjoyer is the stinkiest hikikomori thing one can do. I mean, I get that sense too. Like, there's always that sense if like somebody who used to be like an otaku or a geek, and then they suddenly declare that they're not one anymore. It feels really cringe. But I don't think that's what's going on here, because he has an actual job. He's not a hikikomori. He's not a NEET. He has like a real life and shit. Hot air, honestly. Maybe. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you all for being here. This is Bench Gamer. I will see you guys later.